The Maple Leafs have won 3 in a row, but lost a key member of their lineup. You're listening to the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.
You're Locked On Maple Leafs, your daily podcast on the Toronto Maple Leafs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome into the Locked On Leafs podcast, a daily Maple Leaf-centric podcast hosted by myself, Mike DiStefano, and my co-host, Dave Morassutti. Thank you for making the Locked On Leafs podcast a daily listen for you guys, and thank you for making the Locked On Network the #1 sports podcast network in North America. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. The Maple Leafs have won their third straight game for the first time this season. They beat the Carolina Hurricanes 5-1, and another pretty convincing victory for the Buds here. Dave, what'd you make of that one?
It felt nice. It felt nice just to see a lot of things go their way when we've seen things really not go their way. Like, what a dream start that they had. First shot of the game, Bob McMahon scores again. That third line. What do you think of that? The identity line. I feel like that's too, like, I've heard that line before.
Yeah, it's very generic. It is very generic where it's like, oh, you got a depth line a grinder line. We'll call it the identity line. I mean, it makes, look, I get it because that's what the identity of the team, like that's what they want to be. But yeah, it's not, there's no creativity to that nickname. Maybe we'll task the listeners down below. Let's try and come up with a nickname. Let us know in the comment section the nickname for the third line. Maybe we'll try and come up with something by the end of the show. But yeah, they got the party started again. Bobby McMahon, finds a way to get to the back of the net, just kind of squeak through, but it crossed the line, and the Leafs, 4 games in a row now, they've scored on their opening shot. So how's that for good starts for the Maple Leafs? And look, they've played a lot better lately. This has been a completely different team the last 3 games than we've seen over the course of the first 2 months of the season. Seems like they're finally, figuring out exactly how they want to play. I get it. The identity line is not a sexy name for them, but they are essentially showing, hey, this is what our identity is, and this is how we want to play as a team, and it seems to be following suit. And I thought they got it started, but I thought all around, I thought up and down the lineup, we had contributions, from a lot of different players from each and every line finding a way to get on the score sheet tonight. I thought, again, another pretty solid team effort in this one.
Yeah, I think a big one here is, yes, they allowed a lot of shots on goal, but they didn't sit back. They pressured the Hurricanes. They turned mistakes into chances. I mean, I don't know how we can wait this long without talking that Matthew Knies goal.
Dude, that was
gross.
Oh yeah, bello. Oh my god. I mean, he had a monster game. He was
huge.
He's going to be our first star. We're going to do 3 stars at the game a little bit later on. He's going to be the first star. He was fantastic tonight. And you talk about being a 200-foot player. He might have to be a 197-foot player if he goes over the Olympics. But a couple more performances like that.
Heard you talk about the odds of him not making Team USA. He's like, okay, hold my beer.
Yeah, hold my beer. He had a great game, man, on both sides of the ice. But the goal, I just a little poke into the neutral zone and then just gets on his high horse and, kind of gets taken off his feet, but sticks with it, stays with the play, continues to hold possession of the puck, and then gets up and just shields his guy off. And he's such a strong dude. And that was Sebastian Aho. That's not a little twerp who's only been in the NHL for a couple of weeks. That's a really good player, 200-foot player at that. Who's typically strong on his skates himself, and able to hold him off and make a really nice play, gets it over to his backhand, just kind of gets some nice lift on it, and boom, the Maple Leafs get themselves another goal, and that made it 3-1. Just the strength he showed on that was unbelievable. And then even on the Matthews goal, the turnover that he creates in the defensive end and then gets the puck up and then has the high IQ to like hold off his defender who was clearly trying to get past him to try and break up the Domi Matthews 2-on-1, kind of just held up and didn't allow him to get into the play, and that allowed Domi to get the puck over to Matthews for that one-timer. So even that, like he just a super high IQ play. So get it done on both ends of the ice, man. He was fantastic tonight.
Yeah, we've been waiting for some of these players to put their stamp on games, and I thought the top line, that was probably one of their better efforts since they come together. A lot to like from that, and Craig Berube being patient when things aren't necessarily going great. Like he did make a few adjustments during the game. Like he moved Easton Cowan for a few shifts off the Tavares line, putting Scott Laughton there. That seemed to settle things down a little bit. But again, like I'm sure many people, including myself, when's this top line going to start, pushing the charge, taking charge in this? And this is a game where I feel like hopefully it spawns more of it, because they're going to need more of it from this top line.
For sure. And to do it against the best competition is a good sign too. Yep. Right? To get it done against Carolina specifically makes it feel good. It's like, all right, now they've awoken, right? We've seen that Tavares Nylander line look pretty good over the last couple of weeks. That third line has been fantastic now for 3 straight games. And finally, the top line kind of has their signature game. And although I would say it was led by Matthew Knies, I thought Auston Matthews had a great game tonight too. I thought he was far more puck dominant than he had been in the past. He was I felt that he was aggressive when it came to going into the corners and like trying to win some puck battles and board battles, keeping possessions alive, doing really good things with his stick to force turnovers or keep possession. So for me, I thought that top line was fantastic, and offensively, that was kind of the story of the game for me. But I think the main story that might come out of this game, as we shift from the positive to the negative storyline, is the injury to Joseph Woll, who left the game. He did complete the period, but then left the game after the second period, did not return for the third. And what was the update we heard post-game, Dave?
Yeah, Craig Berube didn't really seem to have much to offer after the game, basically saying they're going to try to find out more tomorrow. But I mean, we saw during, like, when TSN found the replay of him stretching out what appeared to be the leg groin area, like that. Yeah. Anytime, and somebody asked me, like, "Oh, Joseph Woll came out. Like, are you concerned?" I says, "Well, as soon as you hear lower body with a goalie, no, that's a no bueno. That is very much a no bueno."
Yeah, it doesn't matter what the injury is. I'm always going to be concerned, especially like Joseph Woll had a long list of injuries throughout his career. So Joseph Woll and the injury bug is definitely something to be concerned about. And the fact that after the game, it wasn't we took him out for precautionary reasons. We didn't hear the phrase precautionary reasons. And that's what concerns me, because typically the Leafs have no problem throwing that out there if it wasn't, something, not that it's going to be serious, but something that might hold him out for a game or a couple games, maybe a week or two. That kind of is what concerns me most. And with no Anthony Stolarz, and Berube was asked post-game, like, hey, where's Stolarz at? Is he close to coming back? The answer is no. He still hasn't skated since November 11th, I think was the date, the last time that he was on the ice. So it's been a while since we've seen Anthony Stolarz on the ice, and not scheduled to be on the ice anytime soon that we know of either. So the Maple Leafs, despite, they're on a really good run. It's a really positive storyline. They're trending in the right direction. Now they go back home. They've got the Montreal Canadiens, a team who is actually holding on to that last playoff spot that they're trying to get to, just 2 points out now. And they got them on Saturday and might be without both of their starting goaltenders, Joseph Woll and Anthony Stolarz. and looks like it might end up being Hildeby's net for a little bit. But I thought Hildeby's played well his last couple games. We saw him put up a good performance in Pittsburgh. I thought he played well tonight. Wasn't tested a whole lot, but still played pretty well. So I'm not super. I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, the season's over. The goalies are out. Like the team's finally playing well, but the goalies are gone and they're going to be sunk. I think Hildeby might be able to weather the storm. I like what I've seen so far.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it when Joseph Woll came back and they went with this tandem and he had the really good game against Pittsburgh. It's like he's shown that he's more than capable of coming in and spotting a few games. Now, how long Joseph Woll could potentially be out for, that's going to be the big thing, right? Can he handle having Hildeby be the guy for a week or two or more, right? That's where you really start to question. Once back-to-backs, relief appearances, that is one thing, but it's a totally different one when you're starting on the regular and teams get more comfortable going up against you, right? So I'm not in a panic mode yet because of how Hildeby has played, but you certainly hope that he doesn't have to be thrown into too much right off the hop.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be in panic mode if I find out this is a long-term injury or he's going to be missing a couple of weeks. Then I'll start to panic. But for right now, until we hear, I guess, what the diagnosis is of Joseph Woll, if it's Hildeby is going to have to start on Saturday, okay, I feel fine about that. And then, once we hear an update after he goes to get checked out in Toronto, I think then we could have a better understanding of where the Leafs team might be at with goaltending. But this is the problem with, having you're expected to have a tandem, and these goalies aren't expected to have this massive workload. But with Joseph Woll missing the first month of the season, Stolarz had to play all the games except the back-to-backs, and that put a stress on his body. He ends up getting hurt, and then Stolarz goes out, and then Woll comes back. But then he has to make all the starts, and he's not getting the proper rest, and he's not used to this much of a workload and stress on his body. And now he ends up getting injured, possibly because of that workload. So this is the problem with these two and the issues. When one goes down, it does severely impact the other. It may not be right away, but the stress on the body, game after game after game, it seems to be catching up to these guys, and it caught up to Stolarz, and today it finally may have caught up to Woll, unfortunately. So that is one thing that is very unfortunate about the season, the fact that neither have been able to stay healthy at the same time, and neither have been able to get into a groove of a tandem. They've had to play consecutively. What was that, 8 of 9 games since Joseph Woll came back he started. He's never done that in his pro career, so that's a lot of hockey for a guy who's never done that. So that's the one thing. The Leafs need both these guys to be healthy at the same time to get that true tandem that they had a season ago. Again, there's no timeline on either goalie at this point, but the Leafs do hope that they can get them back and get those two in the groove, because ultimately that was the key to the turnaround, I think, this season so far, as Joseph Woll finally started to get these guys some saves, gave this team some confidence, and then they started to play with more structure. They started to play more connected, and all of a sudden, the last couple games, everyone, and the whole team contributions has really gone, in a north way, and that's what we want to see moving forward. All right. Take a break. We'll come back. We get to the 3 stars of the game, and we'll see where the Maple Leafs are at. Road trip's finished, and it was a positive one. So we'll kind of recap the road trip and see what's ahead for the Maple Leafs. That's next here in the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. The World Cup is coming back to North America for the first time since 1994 with 48 teams. For the first time ever, it's going to be massive. But let's be honest, getting tickets is usually the hardest part. That's why the Gametime app is clutch, finally giving fans a real advantage when it comes to snagging seats. With Gametime, you can track price drops in real time, get alerts when great seats open, and buy tickets the moment they hit the app. It puts the power back in your hands and makes going to the World Cup realistic instead of impossible. You just pull up the app and you lay out what makes it so simple. You just go through, you find the matchup that you want, go to the game, find the seats, pick a game, tap a section, and your tickets will be locked in within minutes. And the best part, they've got the seat view feature, which is a game changer. You literally can see the pitch, what it looks like, and the exact seat before you buy it. And price always includes fees up front, which I love. No last second surprises at checkout. Take the guess we're going to buy World Cup tickets in every match, concert, or event with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, download the app, make an account, use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go, Gametime. Welcome back into the Locked On Leafs podcast. Mike DiStefano and David Morassutti with you, as we are each and every weekday, Monday through Friday, with the Locked On Leafs podcast, which is free and available wherever you find a podcast, and also up on YouTube. All right, the Maple Leafs with a 5-1 win over the Carolina Hurricanes. That's 3 in a row, and they now sit just 2 points back of a playoff spot. Are the Leafs back, Dave? Are the Leafs back? Are you ready to say that the Buds are back?
Getting there, getting close.
Yeah, I tell you what, there was a little portion there where I actually uttered those words, and I'll tell you exactly where it was. Knies had just scored, and then Matthews had just scored, so that line was cooking. And then the next time those guys were out on the ice, the forecheck and ferociousness in which Auston Matthews was going into the corner to keep a puck alive, and that was able to get it to his man, keep the possession alive, and then was skating, weaving in and out through the offensive zone the way that he used to, finding those open spaces for a Max Domi or a Matthew Knies or a Morgan Riley or whoever has the puck to get him the puck. Now, they didn't score on that specific, that specific possession I'm talking about, that shift, but it just reminded me of the good old days of when Matthews was a dominant force, and it makes me think maybe they're waking up as a team, and that third line's cooking. We've liked the second line. The fourth line has contributed too. Scott Laughton's playing pretty solid. I mean, Nick Robertson has been good, and now you finally saw that top line go, and that is kind of the last piece of the puzzle to getting this team back up and running. So I guess you're right. They're not fully back, and the injury kind of takes it down a peg, the goaltender injury. But you really like where the Maple Leafs are at, especially after a quality signature win against the Hurricanes like this.
Yeah, they're not just grinding out wins right now, right? We were talking. I mean, a lot of people are saying we're barely getting wins, right? The first 2 months of the season. Well, it looks like December is the month for them to just absolutely put a stamp on each of the last 3 games they play. Like, not just winning in overtime or barely getting by, it's building up a good lead and not blowing the lead.
Yes.
That's what this team, like, again, it's night and day what we've seen. Now, goaltending on MGS has played a big part of that as well, but it's, a lot of players who have been added or returned to this lineup that have really stepped up and helped balance things out.
Well, it's finally constructed as intended, right? Like when there was injuries all across the lineup, it was kind of a ragtag group. Like it often looked like a preseason game, the amount of injuries. I mean, you had Laughton, you had Matthews, you had Knies all out. Nylander's missed some time. Like you had some pretty sizable injuries to this team. That's not even talk about both goalies missing extended time. Your best defenseman, Chris Tanev, your second best defensive defenseman, or I guess second best right shot defenseman in Brandon Carlo. Like, it's been some significant injuries, but as guys get healthy, as Woll got healthy, as he kind of stabilized the net, the team started to buy in. They started to play with structure, they started to play connected, and you've now got 2 big wins in a row. two signature victories against two quality clubs, two well-coached teams, two teams who play, a very good system game, possession game, and the Maple Leafs were able to come out on top. The 3 stars for tonight's game, Dave, you ready for them?
All right. Go at us.
So star number 1, no doubt about it, was Matthew Knies. I mean, we talked a lot, obviously, a second ago about the couple of key plays that he made. Scored a goal, had an assist, but it was just one of the prettiest goals that we have seen from Matthew Knies in his career. And just the IQ that he shows on a nightly basis, I think goes a little understated. He's such a smart player and a powerful player. He's going to be a stud for years to come. But his play with the puck, his play off the puck, Matthew Knies was rather exceptional tonight.
Yeah, huge. I thought the 200-foot game was big for him, right? Not on the ice for a goal against, 2 goals for he was on the ice for. I think the shots, yeah, maybe the chances were a little bit high. He was on the ice for more chances against than he was on for. But it doesn't matter when you're scoring more goals than the other team. And that's at the end of the day what matters the most.
But the shots were 8-4 in favor of the Maple Leafs and outscored the Hurricanes 2-0. And I mean, keep in mind that this Canes team, like, they're one of the best teams in the league. And possession-wise, we talk about a lot how this team spends too much time in their own zone, and that's been a big issue for them. And the Hurricanes, number 1 in offensive zone time this year, per NHL Edge stats. So the fact that they were able to kind of get the puck out, I mean, yes, you're going to give up a lot of shots. This is a high shot quantity team, but you kept the quality pretty low. But I thought that, Matthew Knies to be out shooting the Carolina Hurricanes in that first line, I thought played really well tonight, and we're definitely the best of the bunch. And Knies led the way for me. That goal still just highlight of the night type stuff. Second star for me, Dave. Going to continue with that line, but Auston Matthews. I think we saw some shades of 2024 Auston Matthews, 2023 Auston Matthews here tonight. The way that he was able to get down on a knee and kind of get that one-timer off and look like there's a little deceptiveness in that shot, the way that he angled his body. And it's great that it went into the back of the net, not off the post or not wide, which we've seen a lot of this year and last year. Seems like him and Domi are starting to pick up with that chemistry. And you saw the excitement after he scored that goal too. And doesn't that make you think that he feels like he's unlocking something too over the course of the last couple of games, and that tonight maybe was all of it coming together and, leading to a big goal for him?
Yeah, I mean, that's the big one, is him finding the areas to score. And when he has those opportunities, he's capitalizing.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I thought he led all forwards in ice time. He was one of the few players that actually didn't get out chance. So if you look, I mean, obviously, as you mentioned, scoring chances, the shots were in their favor, but all across the board, best Leaf forward other than Matthew Knies in terms of production.
Yeah, thought he forechecked, thought he cycled well. He had 4 block shots, 65% in the faceoffs. Lot to love, and led the team also with a .56 individual expected goals, 8 individual scoring chances for Auston Matthews. He was kind of all over the ice tonight, had a lot of good chances, and did get one to drop, his 11th of the season. So he got my second star. Third star, give to Scott Laughton. Top 6 Scott Lott, possibly, Dave. I mean, he played well enough where he was given a chance from Craig Berube to go up and kind of play some top 6 minutes. They dropped Easton Cowan down for a couple of shifts. Scott Laughton ends up going up and skating in the top 6. Part of that comes because they really rolled 3 lines for quite some time. So Laughton didn't want him to sit. Felt like he had things going, but wanted to keep the momentum of the 3 lines. So what does he do? All right, we can keep doing that, but Scott Laughton, you're going to get a shift up with the big boys. And scored a goal tonight again. Thought that he was great. Another kind of 200-foot game from Scott Laughton. It's always what you're expecting. Won a couple of battles, which is what you love to see from a guy like Scott Laughton. And he was right behind Auston Matthews in terms of individual expected goals, 0.41 individual expected goals tonight. Ended up with a couple of high danger chances, and obviously he gets the goal. Bit of a fluky goal, but
hey man, when you go to the net, good things happen.
Good things happen. And look, I mean, the Maple Leafs as a whole, had not gotten a lot of puck luck this year. Like, let's be honest, there has not been a lot of puck luck for the Maple Leafs this season. It's just another one of those, signs that things are starting to turn around for this team, where they're starting to even get those, good fortune bounces where it looks like the puck's going to rim around the net. The goaltender's looking, waiting for it, but it pops out in front, and Laughton's right there to pot it in. So, I just thought he had a solid overall game. So Scott Laughton got my 3rd star.
Just confidence building, right? Another game, another goal, 2 straight games with the goal, but also it's how he's scoring too, right? It's we can call it a fleeky goal, but he's putting himself in the right position. And he almost had another one, right? Where when he got moved to the Nylander line, like in front of the net again. That's the stuff that we've been craving to see more of from this team, is guys want to just, sacrifice, take the tough route to go and score. And he's doing it, right? And if he's going to get bumped up to the top 6, you gotta have an impact. And I thought, it's stable. I didn't Cowan, I wouldn't put it all on him with how that second line was playing, but it was nice to see that Laughton, when he did get the opportunity, he didn't, he wasn't invisible. He did leave a good impression when he got bumped up.
Anyone you wanted to give a special shout out to or an honorable mention that maybe you would have had in your 3 stars?
I think Troy Stecher.
Yeah, again. Yeah, he's continues just to be a steady presence back there, right?
He skated a team high 24 minutes and 23 seconds.
It's 3 games in a row, man. Like,
waiver pickup is leading your team in ice time.
Yeah, waiver pickup to number 1 defenseman. Who would have thunk that? I mean, that's kind of what happened with Gus Forsling in Florida too. He was a waiver pickup back in the day.
How long has this team been looking for a right-handed, right-shot defenseman?
Yeah.
They go and they pick one up for free. And a lot of people are like, this is Brad Schliving getting a player that this was more of like a guy he knew versus, and like, but it's like you started to see where, like, again, not the most physical player, but he just plays smart. He doesn't take risks. He's a +8 in the last 3 games. And he's been on the road, matched up against the top lines of every team.
Yeah. Who was his most defended player tonight? Let me see. Troy Stecher. He had the most minutes tonight against Sebastian Aho. Sebastian Aho, Andrei Svechnikov, Seth Jarvis were the 3 forwards he played the most against tonight. And pretty much won those minutes for the most part. So, I would say, he's been way better than advertised. That's for sure. We'll see if he can keep it going. I mean, again, that's 4 or 5 really good games in a row here. Still a small sample size, but when the Maple Leafs need it, because they got a lot of injuries, he's really stepped up here and kind of settled things from the blue line. All right, we'll come back and we'll put a bow on this one. We'll kind of put a bow on the road trip as well and look ahead back home. They got the Montreal Canadiens waiting for them, and the Montreal Canadiens are in their way when it comes to a playoff spot. So we'll get to that and more next here in the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.
Today's show is brought to you by Monarch. The holidays are amazing, but they can also get underwhelming very fast. Travel, gifts, parties, year-end expenses. It's really easy to lose track of your money this time of year, and that's exactly why Monarch has become such a game changer for us. If you want to keep your finances under control this holiday season, you need to be using Monarch. Rated Wall Street Journal's best budgeting app of 2025, Monarch is the all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life in one clean, simple dashboard. In minutes, you can check your net worth, link all your accounts, and keep track of contributions before deadlines. And the holiday spending category can become a lifesaver. You can see exactly what's left in your gift and travel budget in real time. And Monarch makes money check-in simple, just a minute or two each week, and you're completely up to speed. So don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKDOWNNHL at monarch.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarch.com with code LOCKEDONNHL. Today's show is also brought to you by DUER. Holidays are here, and this year I'm not stressing about what to wear because I'll be wearing my DUERs. DUER's denim and lifestyle apparel is engineered for movement and versatility. I've been recommending DUER to all my friends. They're great for all different occasions. It's almost like you're wearing synthetic joggers, but you're ready to go out on the town. And you can tell the difference with DUER's high quality, temperature regulating, cool max fabrics. They keep me warm, but I don't overheat. And DUER invented the original performance denim, and they give us the best of both worlds, combining classic jeanwear style with the kind of comfort and performance you get from athletic wear. It's time for you to experience the comfort of DUER. I know you'll love these, and you can pick up a pair for yourself or as an amazing holiday gift. Check them out at their store here in Toronto. You can find DUER at 44 Ossington Avenue. Mention our promo code LOCKEDONToronto in store to get 15% off your first order, or check them out online, DUER.ca/LockedOnToronto for 15% off. That's DUER.ca/LockedOnToronto.
Welcome back into the Locked On Leafs podcast. Mike DiStefano, Dave Morassutti with you, as we are each and every weekday, Monday through Friday. Brand new episodes coming at you, whether it's on Apple, Spotify, wherever it may be. Did you see the new the Spotify Wraps are coming out now, and whatever iTunes calls theirs, I think they call it like Moments or something. I don't know.
There's the YouTube ones. Everyone's got some sort of wrap.
They all got it now. I wonder how many people have Locked On Leafs. I know last year we had a few people send us some screenshots that Locked On Leafs was part of their top 5 listened to podcasts. So I wonder if we made the list again this year around the city. So the Maple Leafs coming off this road trip, really solid road trip. And we talked about it before they left, like going into it, it had a chance to be a make or break road trip for the Maple Leafs this season. Like it literally was going to either make or break the season. And I think you look back now, a 4-1 record, you end up with wins against Pittsburgh, against Columbus, against Florida, and now against the Carolina Hurricanes. I think you got to say that was better than expected, and definitely puts this Maple Leafs team right back in the hunt.
I definitely think so too. I was just about haven't done a standings check in a little bit, but
2 points, only 2 points out of a playoff spot.
Yeah, I think Brad Marchand might have been right.
Yes, and well, we figured he was right. It was just like we don't want to hear from you, Brad. But yeah, 2 points out. 2 points out, and who's the team that they're trailing? It's the Montreal Canadiens. Who are they playing this weekend, Dave?
Montreal Canadiens.
So an opportunity to pull themselves even. I mean, there's a few teams in between those two clubs because the NHL is insanely tight right now.
Yeah.
Like, how many teams are you're looking at the standings right now? How many teams are between third place? Actually, from first to the Leafs, who are in the division, who are second last in the division, from first to sixth, only 5 points separates first through sixth in the division. Crazy.
Yeah, you got Ottawa, Detroit, Montreal, and Boston.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But like, again, Detroit's played more games. Boston has played more games. Yeah. Montreal has one game in hand.
And they haven't looked great recently. They've started to sputter here.
By Colorado.
Yeah, they did.
And then Ottawa. Then it's like, oh, they beat the Jets. I'm like, oh, who's not beating the Jets right now?
Yeah, exactly.
Hellebuck.
Yeah. the Leafs should feel good about themselves. They should feel good heading into the weekend. Like, they got a wounded Montreal team. Now, I will say, last week when they played Montreal, or was it 2 weeks? 2 weeks ago when they played Montreal, the Habs also were not playing good hockey. I think they had lost like 6 of 7 or something like that. They also were not playing very good hockey, but they found a way to get the win against a Leafs team that was also sputtering. But now the shoe's on the other foot. Like, the Leafs are playing well. And if they can just continue to play with the same identity and with the same, same effectiveness that they've played, the same urgency that they've played over these last couple of games, they should be able to compete and beat the Montreal Canadiens. Like, what the Leafs have been able to do, and a lot of it comes to the fact that they're skating again. It's bizarre that is a major difference in, I think, how this Maple Leafs team is finding success is they're skating, because you would think, well, why wouldn't they just be skating the whole season? That's a good question. I don't know why they were not skating all season, but they weren't really to the best of their ability at the very least. But now you're kind of starting to see that they're closing in on guys. They're getting to pucks a little quicker. They're able to, get in on a forecheck, get in on a dump and chase, and force some more turnovers in the offensive end. Get back and cut pucks off on the defensive end. You're just seeing them get to pucks a little quicker and get to their spots and make plays a little quicker, it feels like. So, although Montreal and that speed has been kind of killer the last couple of times they've played them, Toronto last couple games seems to have found a way to offset, the opposition's speed in a way, and make it look like the Leafs are playing a bit quicker. So I think that'll be something to watch for here in this game against Montreal.
Yeah, you defensive zone coverage, you have to be on the ball. You cannot have guys getting lost, and also turnovers, right? You got to be clean. You got to force Montreal to defend, because like Toronto at one point in that game, as much as I was cursing throughout that whole game, I was cursing too, because in the third period they finally started to play and force Montreal to defend, and then they were making it somewhat interesting until it wasn't anymore. But this Montreal team, you talk about questions about goaltending. Montreal's got way more questions about goaltending than the Leafs do. And that was the part that really annoyed me about that game, is Toronto didn't take advantage of that. Yeah, and they gotta really force the issue. I know Montembeau's been better lately, and so you wonder if that maybe stabilizes things a bit for Montreal. But again, they've allowed more goals against than Toronto has, and Toronto's been a terrible defensive team to start the year. So now it's time to force the other team to defend and not spend all the time in your own zone.
Yeah, 100%. And they're playing better. They're playing with confidence. Like, a lot of it is confidence, man. And they finally have some, and it's really working to their benefit. They're playing the way that the coach had always expected them to play. Why it took until December for that to happen, I don't know. But we'll see, man. This again. Now you're going back home, and Matthew Knies said it post game. He's like, "Yeah, we got to carry this momentum home." They've had a lot of flat starts on home ice, and they have not played very well on home ice, and they've got to find out a way to translate the road games of what they've played the last couple here and put that on ice. Coming back on a winning streak, I'm hoping Saturday night the building should be rocking, should be buzzing, and should put the Maple Leafs in a positive mindset to start that game. So that's the hope. Hopefully they can get off to a good start. I mean, it's 4 games in a row that this Maple Leafs team has scored on their first shot of the game. Can they make it 5 in a row against the Montreal Canadiens? We'll see. All right. That'll do it for us here today on the podcast. I'd like to thank you all for listening and supporting the show. You can subscribe to the Locked On Leafs podcast on all platforms and receive daily Leafs content. Follow myself on Twitter at Mickey_Canuck. Follow Dave at _Morassutti, and follow the show as well at Locked On Leafs. We'll be back with another episode for you guys tomorrow. Until then, keep it locked right here on Locked On Leafs.